David Erdos with poem 29 from the COVIDIan Age, When the Rain. In the past, when the great rains came, races prayed to the spectacular gods on the mountain. Today, no god graces this particular relief from the heat. As now a strange silence starts after a fiery roar through the suburbs, torn by Thursday's London monsoon and high anger, with which no form of scorn or rage could compete. I hadn't slept for a week, a refugee on the floor of my lounge, back doors open, daring my neighbours' cats and night foxes to Poseidon up from doused gardens and scavenge me out in my lair. Death by stain or possible consumption, perhaps, after nearly 2 weeks of near madness in which I watched the world warp within me and before me too. Undeclared. You could feel the blood rise and hear it bubble about you, as if the forces that form from the body were signalling out through fleshed screams. I would have torn my skin like a coat to expose the core's call for cooling. I would have wrenched my hair that lays heavy if I could have climbed up freedom's flight towards dreams where the world is not as it is in terms of this climate of souls and the weather. As the heat in turn felt like judgment, the shock of God's scorn, diffused blush, which stunned us all in our seats as I felt my body shock itself into stasis. And I was prematurely old and surrendered, assaulted by burning and blame in hate's rush. I certainly hated all things, perspective through perspiration, extinguished. And it has taken this calming lapse to cure and return me after watching the encompassing flush of God's piss, storming us like a horse in a watered torrent of fire, screaming at the ground for what's happened by replacing with smite the sun's kiss, which was akin to that of Judas, I'm sure, as it left a scar on all senses and a scar on skin also as the pigment within became singed. You could feel your heart turn to ash in an internal barbecue of the body. Now that the rains have come, have they saved us, or in washing us clean just revealed the mire we've made, just as my wasted week was Atlantis? I feel like fallen prey. As I type this, it has started again. No burn heals. It is simply covered, part masked, but you remember it still in the body. Last night, I thought of a higher arc cresting and of my own body caged in the flood. From the fire and steam to the boil, with my Caucasian skin turned to lobster, from parched ocean floor COVID parted to the seas of disbelief. All our blood. A certain intensity has now passed in which the prisoners' shouts have been sated. But was this just one glass of water intended to soothe our protest, or the first of many that show no further tribulation awaits us? When is water warning? Why, when you're all at sea. Fate sets tests, or God does, or space, or skies as slaves to the climate. Sometimes the rains drown the mountain. Perhaps this is something that we all should expect. David Erdos, August the 14th, 2020.